Greetings. Welcome to the Marketing Matters podcast. Here we talk about marketing strategy, digital trends, and anything in between. I'm your host, Steve.
Amatema Victoria.
Yeah, so this week in marketing, we are going to cover two major news. Google reverses course on third-party cookies, and OpenAI launches Search GPT. So let's get started, Vicky, with the Google cookies news. Now, Google announced last week that it is reversing course on the proposed cookies. And there's an article that came out from Google themselves that they were saying they're changing course from their years long plan, which was to phase out third party cookies, and are now proposing that instead of that, users or people who are browsing via the Chrome platform will now have the option of opting out of cookies. Now, before that, they had come up with another, let's call it solution, which was called the privacy sandbox, which would allow people who are in their transitioning to a cookieless browser experience, where people now who had opted out of being served cookies would then still be marketed through a very convoluted process of tagging the customer and whatnot. But with this news, it seems like they are going back either to having cookies, or they are going to have some sort of hybrid. And I'd like to get us to get into that discussion. But first, for purposes of just understanding, maybe Vicky, you can tell us what are cookies and why they are very important for any person who is, especially for advertisers in the digital online space.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Steve. By the way, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm
Oh, you.
I'm I'm barely I'm barely I'm barely hanging on.
Yeah,
Why did you have to ask now?
because I
But
can see the
carry
way
on.
you're struggling to get words out of your mouth. Anyway,
Yeah, we shall we
you'll be
shall we
well.
shall we shall we shall survive. Yeah, it is well. Hmm.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
tell us about
So,
cookies.
yeah, for anyone who has never had this term cookies, I think I've ever done a video on
Mm,
cookies. And if you have ever received, like when you're logging into a website and you see a pop up that tells you to accept cookies, reject all, that's what you're talking about today. So these are small text file or code that websites use to track users either on their website or on the browser. And the cookies are supposed to help you remember the user preferences. For example, if someone logs into your website, or if you're using an e-commerce website, someone purchases a product on your website, or you went to the cart and he abandoned the cart before making a purchase. That's what we term as cookies. They help businesses who are using the websites to be able to know how the behavior of the user when they're using the website. This helps the owner of the website or the e-commerce website to be able to know what can I do to improve my website. Why are people abandoning my cart? Why are people not registering, but they are not? Maybe they are logging into the website. They fill in their details, but they are not registering. Maybe if you have a class or a training that you are offering on the website. So that's what we term as cookies. Now, cookies is majorly categorized into two. We have the first party cookies and the third party cookies. The first party cookies is what I've just explained, the one that you put on your website to track the user behavior on your website. Now, the third party cookies is a code that is placed not only on a specific website, but on a browser or a computer. So this means that if you accept the third party cookies, it means anytime you browse on any website on your using your computer, the computer saves that data. So it will be able to remember the information that you used, and therefore this is important to advertisers when the advertisers are maybe paying Google. I'm using Google because today we're talking about Google. If advertisers pay Google and they want to reach the right target, Google uses the cookies to be able to track you and to know if you're the right target or not. So, for example, if you have been searching for cars, you search for cars maybe on social media, you search for cars, maybe when you're watching YouTube and you see an advert about a car, you pause, or anywhere where you have that information. So, Google saves that information and he knows Steve likes cars. And at this time, he's really interested with cars. So, anytime an advertiser is advertising for cars, you are part of the target for that advertiser. So that's the third party cookies. Now in 2020, that's where we had the issue for privacy, data privacy, and it came from Apple, where they were insisting that there is a lot of information shared to these platforms, yet the users without users' consent. So they stated that this breaches the data privacy. So Google had that battle with Apple, and therefore they decided, no, we are going to think of the big way forward. In 2020, they had stated that from 2022, they are going to remove the third party cookies, because now the third party cookies means you have not gone to my website. You whatever you searched on your computer, that is what made me to remember you or to target you as my potential client. So that is generally what third party or first party cookies. So what Google is talking about right now is the third party cookies. They had said they are going to retrieve that option, but I know eventually. Maybe they have come to realize that it's still important to advertisers. So generally, that's just the introduction of what cookies are.
Yeah, on the issue about the origins of them stopping, I I think Google themselves do not have a problem with that, with third party cookies per se. The In fact, Safari, which is Apple's browser, and the other one, Mozilla, already
And Chrome.
did away with them, with third party cookies. But for
Yes.
advertisers, or for the majority of advertisers, it was not a big problem, because Chrome controls almost 70% of this of the search traffic. So Google's decision to stop third party cookies was going to deal a major blow to a lot of advertisers. And for people
Advertisers.
who are wondering, how does this necessarily work, and what why would Google, who is a beneficiary of this advertising revenue, also want to block it? Another motivator, apart from Apple, their battle with Apple, was the general data protection regulations by EU, which was saying that
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
tracking customers' data without their consent, and therefore you had to find a mechanism of either asking that customer for consent, of which most of the customers always opted out, or do away with that third-party data, and then find a way as an advertising company to still track customers. And for people who might still not fully appreciate why third party cookies are essential for an advertisers, because most of the time when you are in a browser, say you are reading a newspaper article, maybe it's the BBC, and then you every time you go to BBC, you don't read the political news, you go and watch the sports section, or you go and read the sports section. So for you to get what we call personalized ads, that third party cookie allows the browser to know that when you interact with these websites, you're mostly interested in the sports section. So even the ads that are rendered to you are going to be sports relevant. It can be stuff about merchandise about the football teams maybe that you're interested in. It can be stuff about destinations, or the betting companies for football. So adverts were now at least in the third party cookie era, they're not even going to be, they were more personalized. And the biggest effect of not having the third party cookie is that for the advertiser, because they cannot target Steve or Vicky directly, and in a more concise way, then they would rather stop advertising via the BBC website, and then just go directly and do search ads, as well as do the AdSense, the Gmail and the YouTube ads. But so for the biggest losers in this equation are usually the publishers, because their revenue directly comes from these third party cookies.
Yeah.
Because now when there is a reason for me to target Steve, because I know I can convert Steve, then I will pay BBC ads for more. I'll pay BBC more revenue. But when I can't even know if Steve is the ideal target audience, I would rather go and do such ads and make money. And that's why for Google as a whole, they were not going to lose. And that's why to them, they are agnostic. Whether you guys decide to, opt out or opt in. If anything, when you look at Google's revenue, their such third-party cookie revenue is the least of their ad revenue. Their biggest revenue comes from the search ads, and then you do the AdSense, and then you do the now this we call it low margin for Google. So for Google, them removing third party cookies was not going to affect them negatively anyway. It was okay. The negative bit was going to be temporary, because advertisers would move to search ads, and then would move also to the YouTube ad. So the people who are actually being left to hang dry were publishers, because of course, like we've explained, then there is no need for me as an advertiser to pay BBC or Nation or whoever to publish an ad, when I can go directly to Google. So that's a very interesting development. And I was also looking at how they, of course, they have not yet said how they are going to implement it, but there are several iterations that people are foreseeing them doing. And the first one is they'll just say, by default, you shall be opted out of the cookies, and you shall now be the one who will be who will be getting the option of, I want to my data to this website to track my data so that I can get personalized ad. Now, Apple has been accused of being one of the harshest guys when for these third party cookies. And if you see one of the ads that Apple renders, not even the ad, the display, that display that says, "Do you want to receive or access third-party data?" Apple has a very sorry, has a very harsh word. Let me just share with you so that our audiences can understand. Apple has a very harsh display that makes it hard for somebody to opt in. And that's what people are fearing, that is the reason that maybe some people are going to opt out of these things, because see the difference between how Apple prompts how Apple prompts and asks you to opt in. You see that word, allow news desks to track your activity across other companies' apps and websites. You see the way they display it, it is like these guys are stalking your activity online. And most of the
Yeah.
people end up now saying, ask this app not to track. And Apple has been very notorious for this. And they pretend, they say, okay, we're being transparent, but usually they just don't want these apps to have additional data from their customers, so that they can charge them on the back end as data vendors. But the Google prompt that somebody was saying now, look at how it will be. Do you like freshly baked delicious cookies? Of course, this is now an overly simplified one, but the way Apple prompts their consumers or their users to opt in of these services, usually it's very negatively connoted, especially because people don't like the word track my use, and of course that causes a lot of negative issues. But like we said, it is highly likely that as time goes, we shall get clearer in terms of how Google wants. But for Google, just for your understanding, Google's the way Google looks at it, either way, they are not going to lose, because people will still move to do the search ads, and as well as doing the YouTube ads, and all the other platforms. But yeah, that's it
I think
about cookies. I don't
I
know
don't
what you
know,
have.
Steve. I think on in terms of Google losing, I think for me, I think they're still going to lose. You can't say because this is I'm not getting so much from again so much. The little that they are mentioning in Google is not little. as you state it. I think they
Yeah.
are still going to lose, because me as as an advertiser, I'm still the same one who's publishing on all these other Google ads. Like, I'm using all these Google ads. If I'm not getting my service on this option for the cookies, and then it means even this other side, it's very easy for me to lower my budget, because now I'm already not seeing the results from one side. So it affects, as long as it's affecting me as a publisher, it means even these other areas, like if I'm to advertise on YouTube or anywhere, and I've already been affected on one side, it's likely that I'm either going to consider using the competitors' platforms like the social media, or I'll think of something else, because I'm seeing that I'm not getting the benefit I used to get. Remember, sometimes when you do these adverts, you can decide to put a budget to advertise on all Google 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 platform. Like, you can decide I want to advertise on all of them. It's called, I think, Google Max ads, where you can advertise on YouTube, you advertise on the search ads, you advertise on every other area. So if I'm not getting that benefit, I can decide to lower my budget and take it somewhere else where I have the freedom to advertise where I want. So I think it's still going to affect them in a way. So that one, I think
Yeah,
I
it
just felt.
was. It It may be, but I still am of the opinion that if you're doing Google Ads, you're going to do Google Ads, especially if the other platforms continue to deliver. And remember, by the way, they were not just necessarily dropping the cookies issue; they had come up with that other solution that they were calling Privacy Sandbox. And there are several companies that had actually signed, including ad
Yeah,
tech
yeah,
companies, to help do
yeah.
that. So in terms of Google, they were just shifting with the times, and that's why I was saying they are not going to be affected negatively as it would be for the publisher, because even the companies that were going to the sandbox were the ad tech companies trying to find a way of still marketing to Steve without having to serve Steve cookies. So Google had found a way of covering its bases, especially in terms of how they transition. Then also remember there is this whole issue of AI with the search generative experience changing. It will also get more and more hard for publishers to earn revenue directly through their platforms. There are several other factors at play here. And that's why probably I'm looking at it as Google being the overall winner and publishers being the guys losing, even though they are saying that they're going to return, not going to have a sunset day for the cookies. It is highly likely that even as we go forward, now companies will, no publisher wants to be in that place where there is an uncertainty about where their future revenues lie. So a lot of people
Yeah.
will now start trying also to adapt and see how do they go with the times, so that they whatever Google decides does not obliterate their whole business model.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so moving swiftly from that, and Chat GPT is now launching Search GPT. So the company called OpenAI, or the owners of ChatGPT, have designed or coming up with a new search, call it a search generative experience platform for Search GPT, that they are saying that will allow you to give you timely answers and questions from the web. The user experience, or the user interface, in my view, is more or less just like what I would get on the Chat GPT platform. But I'd like to hear, Vicky, your thoughts. Do you think this is like is this game changing in terms of an unveiling, or is it just Chat GPT, trying to increase its competitive edge over companies like Google and Perplexity?
You remember there was a time we were talking about a topic of on SEO, if SEO is dead, and we had mentioned about Chat GPT. Yeah, I think from my end, I think ChatGPT has realized, or the OpenAI, they have realized that you can't only just have one answer that fits all. So they have ended up thinking, okay, Google is still a solution for many users, and therefore the only way in which that they can survive this market is to ensure that they compete with Google That's why they started the search GPT, because now with the search GPT it's like it's more or less like Google. Remember also Google now has integrated AI on the search platform, where when you search, it gives you a brief of the information in summary, but again gives you links of the other website and also shows the other websites on the search as it was before. So search GPT is more like a threat to Google. That for me, that's what I feel. It's a threat to Google, because now it's becoming, it wants to compete. It's doing what Google is doing, or what Google was doing, but now with AI involved. And with them, their competitive advantage is the artificial intelligence. So with them, they are competing with Google, but now they can, if Google is not careful, they'll be able to reach more audience, and maybe pick reach more audience that would affect Google in terms of their revenue, or the likes. Again, there was a time we also did a topic on Perplexity. Now with them, again, when you look at the article, ChatGPT, the OpenAI mentioned that they'll emphasize on not cannibalizing publishers, because they realized that in Perplexity there was that argument about publishers feeling that their content is being mismanaged or used, like they're using publishers' content without their consent. So with them, they say they are going to focus on content creators and publishers to ensure that they get the value that they deserve. So this is again another competitive advantage that they wanted to use to be able to get more audience. And the challenge on this search was with the chat GPT was, now if you're to use my content, use someone else's content to give a summary. It means people, you are reducing traffic on my website. I'm not going to get enough traffic on my website, meaning even if I'll get, like, there'll be few, because you have already summarized. Some people who will just get the summary and therefore they will not need to come to my website. So do I need to continue creating more content? So that's why they emphasize that in our search GPT, we are going to focus more on publishers and content creators. We'll ensure that they get the support they need. We'll ensure that they get the value of the work that they do. So this is something that is still new. We are hoping to see more of it. We are just looking forward to see what they are planning to do. And I remember you had already mentioned about AI. Some a company will be you're predicting of a company coming to stand out. So maybe this is an opportunity. They're just trying to penetrate from one market to the other. Eventually, you'll realize that they are doing everything AI.
Yeah, for me, this is just uh, it's like in product development, you can have those big leaps and then you just have those steady improvements. And to me, this is just a small minor improvement, because even the attribution of the links and whatnot, ChatGPT currently can still do that. And while of course this one, maybe of course it is, you can argue that it is trying to mimic what Gemini now is doing with Google, which of course has also not gone live because of several other things that need to be resolved. But in terms of it changing, taking market share from Google, the only way they could do that, in my view, is if they have a partnership with mobile device providers like Apple or Samsung, to have it as the default search engine. If they don't have that, absent of that, it is highly unlikely that they are going to take um, what to take the market share out of from Google. And remember, like we said earlier, Google pays Apple almost 25 billion USD every year just to be the default search engine. It is so lucrative that Apple does not even see the need to develop their own search engine. And I highly doubt that Apple is going to, do away with that revenue line in favor of ChatGPT. And then, of course, Google Android, through its own different arrangements with different phone manufacturers like Samsung, also then is the default search engine. So I say it's not a significant improvement, because the only way that they can get market share is if they become the default search app in most of these platforms. And as Google
Yeah, but
develops its
again,
app, it's highly likely that the Gemini will be just as good as Chat Search GPT in a few months.
yeah, but again, Google has that competitive advantage because it also has the publishers in place. Like you have, if anyone who wants to create a website would always consider Google search. In even as they do the SEO, most of them will consider Google search. So even by the time Search GPT is stating that it's going to focus on content creators and publishers, it means I think it means they are trying to find ways on how they'll be able to get more publishers uploading their website or creating their website and focusing on optimizing the website on their search. And you see, when the more, if they are to get more people to do that, then negotiating with Apple will not be a problem. Because you look at the numbers, everyone always looks at the numbers. It's not that they'll abandon their agreement with Google, but if there is a market share that Search GPT will be able to create, then Apple will listen. Because I know at the end of the day, it's benefits to all.
Yeah. Anyway, for that one, what I've known is not to write to Google. A few months ago, when ChatGPT came, everybody thought it was the end of Google, and then now Google is has come back with a bang with the different products. Even there's an they are trying to acquire, or they were to acquire another farm. I think that also fell through. So it is at this point it's just, there's still a lot of dust around, and we have to wait for things to settle, because
Yeah,
there's no clear winner up until when the dust fully settles is when we shall know who is the new giant in the search market. And there's also that thing that as your market grows and you become more and more dominant, you also attract more competition, because people realize, if I just take 5% of this market share, I'm
yeah,
already in the money. So there is
yeah,
Google will always face competition because it's the biggest kid in the block. So everybody has
true.
to attack their market share. But as time goes, maybe there'll be a new market that ChatGPT creates, that then people will start attacking, including Google. But yeah, that was a nice chat, and of course maybe different views, but we can only wait and see. The only good thing is that all these developments ultimately come to the benefit of the consumer, and of course there might be some issues with publishers, and some issues with the employment and whatnot, but I am willing to bet that as time goes and things settle down, it will get more and more clearer who is the winner, who is the one that needs to adapt, and also how the consumer and how the businesses can make changes and adaptations into these new developments. What I can tell any person who is watching is that always try to acquaint yourself with how you can use the new technologies to better yourself in your career, as well as better yourself in the market, in providing value as a marketer or as an agency for your business. But yeah, that's it from us today. I would urge you, like always, to give your comments and share your thoughts about what you think the future is for Search GPT, cookies, and whether you use them for your website or for your business, and any other question that maybe you might think we should have covered. You can always put it on the comment section. Like us, share, subscribe, follow, and put the notifications so that you can see the next video. Otherwise, I'm your host, Steve Atema.
Matema Victoria, bye.
Bye.